look at a little background real quick before we start about this slab right here. Ancient Corinth thrived as one of the most prosperous Greek city-states for hundreds of years. Prior to the Roman Empire, the Corinthians dominated trade in the region. They invented Corinthian-style architecture, boasted some of the greatest fighters in all of Greece. They invented the trireme warship. Trireme means the three-rower. You ever know what I'm talking about? With the oars around on both sides on three. So they had that. The warship had a battering ram in front. They were also known for their helmets. Some of you saw the helmets that considered the finest in ancient Greece. They were also known for their bronze, which when finished looked like gold. Josephus, he said, even the temple in Jerusalem used Corinthian bronze for one of its gates, the gate called Beautiful. If you remember Acts chapter 3, 1 through 10, the lame man's laying there, and Peter says, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have given to you. So that gate was Corinthian bronze. This bronze was also used in the most elaborate mirrors, some of which have been unearthed here in ancient Corinth. These mirrors were typically small. They were round. They were held with a small handle. How many of you ladies have a compact? Right? That's what we're talking about. But on them, they had engraved designs. But the metal was difficult to form because it was a thin, flat surface, needed constant polishing. Therefore, these bronze mirrors produced a dark and distorted image. So later, when Paul comes and writes a letter to ancient church here in Corinth, he uses this known distortion of Corinthian mirrors to make a spiritual metaphor about someday seeing our true selves. So what does he say in 1 Corinthians 13:12? For now we see through a glass, about a mirror, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as I also am known. Corinth was the biggest city in Greece, was the capital. But in 146 BC, the Romans destroyed Corinth, and it was mostly abandoned. About 100 years later, 44 BC, Julius Caesar refounded Corinth. Then in 27 BC, Caesar Augustus of Luke chapter 2 made Corinth the capital again. But the reason we're here, I love this little out-of-the-way place. If you don't, or if you're not a Christian, a believer, if you're just coming to it, you will not come here. But this little inscription means a lot to those who are believers. So I want you to understand the church in Corinth, when Paul gets here, it's going to start and continue to grow, increase. It starts to include all segments of society, including government officials, wealthy businessmen, those who are rich, those who are poor. And one of the first Christians was the Corinth city treasurer, a man by the name of Erastus, who is actually remembered in this official Latin inscription right here from around AD 50. This slab of pavement was discovered near the Corinthian theater in 1929, but this is what it reads. It says, Erastus, in return for his aedileship. Now, an aedile was responsible for the maintenance of public roads and public buildings. So that's what it's saying. Erastus, in return for his aedileship, laid this pavement at his own expense. Now, you read that, you say, big deal. Great. What does that mean? A guy named Erastus. But when you go into the biblical accounts of Luke, when he's writing the book of Acts, and you go into some of Paul's writings, they refer to Erastus as the manager of the city of Corinth and treasurer of Corinth. Romans 16:23 says this. Paul greets and he commends his friends. He says this, Gaius mine host, and of the whole church saluteth you. And then it says this, Erastus, the chamberlain of the city, saluteth you. That word chamberlain means director of public works, those who lay roads and those who are the treasurer. And so here we are at the exact spot where this took place. And this is what I want you to get. We don't need history to tell us Erastus was here. We don't need science to tell us what's been discovered.
Yes.
Once again, we see something carved
Yes.
in stone
Yeah.
that is
Yes.
evidence
Right.
of what we already have
Yeah.
in our Bible. Hey, listen, the Bible is enough.
Amen.
It tells us
Amen.
everything we
It
need.
is. Yeah.
And it tells us he was here. He was in charge of the public works,
Yes.
the roads and different things like that. Well, guess what? The Bible told us you don't need the history to come tell me that.
Amen.
Because the Bible tells
Yeah.
that. Erastus is mentioned 3 different times in the New Testament. Romans 16:23 we just read. Acts 19:22 and 2 Timothy 4 verse 20. But again, this little pavement here, this guy who had his name, never thought when this was placed we'd be here thousands of years later, coming to see this great man that did a work for his people in Corinth. So we'll stop there. Take your pictures of this right here.